So it is on. Round robin 2, race number 2, challenger of record against INEOS Team UK. Currently the form boat in this PRADA Cup Challenger Series on day number 3. And the cameras that we have on board all over the place, along with our microphones, showing you, just like that shot, how crazy this weather is today. Man, I'm excited.
Bring it on. This is that gear-busting kind of... You kind of have a feeling when you leave the dock on a day like today that it's going to be a little bit different. You got to hold on, Nathan. This is something that you can't break the boat, but at the same time, nobody's going to let you back off, because if you do, you're going to lose.
Yeah, it's definitely rough out there today, isn't it? Check out the waves and these boats. You know, most of these teams have been always sailing in the flat water. You know, they probably would have been expecting to be in the back paddock or in the harbour in conditions like this, but they're out there in the roughest part of the harbour today.
So are you surprised they went to this race course?
I'm a little shocked that we're out here. I don't think many of the teams were thinking they were going to have to sail in these conditions and these kind of waves. I reckon they thought they'd be in flatter, more protected conditions, but going to be a good test for the structure of these boats, isn't it?
Let's be blunt, though. Either of you would love the chance to be on a wheel out there today, wouldn't you? Come on.
Of course, but at the same time, this is kind of comfy sitting here with you, you know, second-guessing everything that's going on out there. There's nothing wrong with that.
Just under 3.5 minutes to race start, and race number 2 of round robin number 2 will complete, hopefully, this round robin stage today. We have heard from race management there's a big shift coming, and potentially that could way, how about that? That gives you an idea of what the conditions are like. Francesco Bruni getting his early shower. Can you imagine what it's going to be like when these boats are up and falling at speed? We know, and we've been blessed to be shown pictures prior to you seeing these ones getting close to 50 knots and getting themselves into gear.
Well, they'll be pushing the boats hard, but it's so bumpy that you can't push these boats too hard. And you know, Ken made a good point. You know, to finish first, you've got to first finish, right? You've got to make sure you get this boat around the course, keep it upright, and I think it's going to be a game of managing the throttle, going fast when you know you've got control, and then backing it off when it's time to, you know, keep it under control.
Luno Rossa have port entry on this race, race number 2, and it'll be starboard entry for INEOS Team UK. The exciting part of this, that boat in front of you, what are they going to be like in these wild conditions?
It just looks marginal, doesn't it? I mean, it just feels marginal.
The 2 minutes and 10 seconds they are allowed in on the port entry and income at pace, and real pace for the first time. And this is Luno Rossa, PRADA Pirelli. And then from the 2-minute mark, income on the starboard entry is INEOS Team UK. There is a lot of work going on out there.
There are a lot of questions today for both of these boats. INEOS was notoriously a heavy air boat in the past, but their light air performance the last couple days means maybe they've changed. And on the other hand, we've always thought the Italians struggled in a breeze. Let's see them prove otherwise today.
Rounding up. Your wheel, my wheel. Watch the bow. Yeah, got it.
Okay, 2 more turn up.
Don't come too far up, very negative. Got it. Negative 6
bend away. Okay, 2, 1, bending away.
Got it.
We're on board both boats, listening in to whatever the strategies might be, with only about a minute to go before the start.
Away.
Stand by drive.
Okay. Main on the board.
Yep, main on.
Coming down the left board here.
Here's a decision for Ainsley right now. Will he tack before, or does he think they're early and push them from behind and tack out? Looks like he's going to be a pusher this time.
Got him killing 15. Speed.
Stand by tack.
Yep. My pitch. Crossing.
Board down. Turning.
Yep. Okay, going board. Okay.
This is the umpires. Boundary penalty, GBR. Boundary penalty, GBR.
That's an unforced error. Out of bounds in the pre-start. You can see that Whitewater just went out of bounds. That's handing the start to your competitor, isn't it?
Coming away.
Yeah.
That's course.
So unforced error by INEOS Team UK in the pre-start area. Boundary penalty. 10 seconds to go to the start.
Keep going, guys.
Okay, stand by for a big main on, boys. Okay, I've got it. Keep that.
Okay,
on my wheel.
Your wheel.
Main on.
On the wind.
Yeah, coming.
It's on. Round robin 2, race number 2. Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli, INEOS Team UK away in some of the most challenging conditions we have seen to date.
That penalty gets cleared by them being 2 boat lengths behind right off the starting line. So INEOS is back in the game, but man, what an unforced error. Not a great way to start this race.
1-2. You guys can hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm on the GB, they're right behind us.
Let's focus. Yep.
I'm surprised he's staying on his hip there for so long. I would have thought Van Ainsley would have looked to tack to get out of this position. He's only getting further behind in a dirty air of Luna Rossa there.
But I'll tell you what, there's a lot more chatter aboard the Italian boat right now. There's I can't say what the phrase is right now, but it is marginal out there. Let's put it that way.
And Kenny, they're only going upwind at the moment. Wait till they get to the top mark enough to turn these boats downwind and punch through these waves. But what we're experiencing right now, what we get to view is it's a boat speed race. We're trying to see who's the fastest boat in these conditions. Shirley, on the water, how is it out there? Nice and bumpy for you?
Yeah, I'm trying not to look at the monitor too much. It's really bumpy. Nathan, I wonder if Ben Ainsley is sort of protecting the left a little bit. The forecast is for the breeze to go left. And when I've noticed the puffs dropping, they're left-hand puffs. So, you know, you wouldn't want to get to the right-hand side. He wants to keep it nice and tight and nice and close.
Easy. So we go straight.
Back in here now.
Yeah.
Copy.
Outdoor 75. Happy to come up too.
No, nothing too big on the race course. I think boundary to boundary at the moment. Boat feels good.
Yes, please.
A little bit lighter here.
Crossing.
And pressure in 2.
Ready. 2, 1, board down.
You're going to see the Italians tack right in front of Ainsley on this maneuver. They'll have plenty of time to set it up. And they don't.
Let's go with him here.
It's first.
Stand by tack, boys.
One reason why they may not have, Nathan, is this race course is so narrow. They're just trying to minimize maneuvers right now, and knowing that maneuvers kind of lend themselves towards braking gear possibly at the same time. You never know about those things, but I'm kind of surprised they gave him free air right there.
Well, as you say, it could be an opportunity here where Luna Rossa can sail across all the way to the left-hand boundary, tack and make the top marks in one, whereas INEOS might still have 2 more tacks to go. And tack loss, we always know there's a tack loss, but I think when it's wavier, the tack loss is even higher.
Boat is going well, guys.
No surprise that there is plenty of speed out on the course today. Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli sitting around 34 knots, as is INEOS Team UK. They're running at around 40 miles an hour, which is 65 Ks. So that's plenty quick enough in these conditions when you're hanging on.
40 miles an hour upwind, and you heard Francesco Bruni repeatedly on this be kind of reassuringly to the group saying, guys, we're going well, we're going well. It's almost like he sounds a little bit surprised.
It's early jibe, possibly.
That's on the box. Okay, stand by. 3, okay, set up. 1, board down. 2, 1, board down.
Again.
Turning.
Both boats approach the ley line, which means they're going to be on probably their final line into that first gate, and then we're going to see the fast bear away as they go around the marks. This is when the control is the scariest for these boats as they're trying to go around these marks.
Yeah, early jibe.
I think we're better off.
No rush, though. No rush.
Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli approaching the top gate for the first time. 6 legs. They will start the downwind leg, and that'll be leg number 2. But they go around that mark for the first time. What's the gap to INEOS Team UK? Keep your eye on the bottom screen, to the bottom right of the screen, and that is the time gap difference. 11 seconds.
Looks like Ainsley just tried to keep that race close, Nathan, on the first leg. Let's not try anything crazy. Let's not do a big split. Let's not look for something that isn't there, and see kind of get a feel for what the boat speeds are compared to the 2 boats.
Okay, no rudder.
First time we've seen him behind in any of these races too.
Come on,
So,
get it going, guys.
what
Get
we've
it going.
seen so far is the team that's had the best start is generally
Get it
won
up,
these
get the
races.
bow up,
So
get it ripping.
sounds like there's a bit of chat on board Ben Ainsley. I think it's getting lighter, and I think as it gets lighter with this sea state, the boats are going to get harder and harder to sail. Shirley, on the water, is it dropping there? Have you got any inside knowledge for us?
Yeah, that's a good call, Nathan. You know, there's a lot of rain coming, and there's a lot of areas with a little bit of less wind. That's exactly what happened. And remember, they're quite underpowered as well. Small sails on, and really, you know, you're really going to have to be dynamic with your setup to get through those lulls. But yeah, you know, have small enough sails that, you know, when the breeze hits, you're going to be all right.
So different challenges. If there are lulls on the course, when you've got the sort of sails for these supposedly stronger conditions, 42 knots downwind, and that is INEOS Team UK, as opposed to around 37 knots for Rossa PRADA Pirelli on leg 2 of 6.
Nothing behind us, right? It's all on the left, looking upwind.
So that's the voice of Jimmy Spittle of Rossa talking about the pressure and saying the breeze is stronger on the left-hand side of the course. So they're really trying to talk tactics about how do they go around these bottom marks, get themselves into this new pressure lane, this front that we've been talking about that's coming from the west coast. And if it comes in the middle of this race, tacticians are going to have their work cut out for them.
Not the smoothest of jibes that we've seen from this group. You can see the gap closes up so quickly with one tiny mistake. They're really in the one mistake zone right now. That 200-meter zone is really one mistake away, and you can see they almost have the distance the Brits did just on that one little slider during the jibe.
Come down, kick off. Come down very fast here. Easing. Trim, ragazzi. Trim. Put pressure and right a little bit. Come down, trim.
Pull forward. Getting close. No, a little further, sorry. Not good.
Like cross after.
Yeah, you got time to cross after.
A little bit more pressure right now on the right up.
2, 1, 4 down. Okay. Can you get that? I will pitch. Make sure you get it ripping. Copy. Okay. We on. 32s, hold that, Charles. Copy.
Both boats here on their final approach to the bottom gate. Looks like both teams trying to set up to take the right-hand marker. The left-hand marker, as we look at here, getting out to that left-hand side of the track to try and get into better pressure. I don't think Ben Ainsley's laid it, though, so I think we're going to have a split here at the bottom mark.
Exactly. He's one and in for Ainsley, and hopefully straight in if you're an Italian fan. And again, here comes these gear-busting moments of rounding these marks and fully loading the boat side.
Turning at about 5. 3, 2, 1, here we go, turning.
Rossa Pirelli. Wow. Maintaining their lead with a mini splashdown at the bottom gate for the first time. They were 11 seconds ahead at the top gate. What will it be at the bottom gate?
They're doing a head counter. They all still on board the boat. Oh, we knew this was going to be hard, but this is brutal.
17 seconds, though. They've eked out a 6-second gap further on INEOS Team UK.
Guys, just go.
It's marginal just when these guys are crossing right now. Imagine if the boat goes down and all that water is flying over the deck and somebody's trying to cross at the same time.
It's looking really hard for the guys sailing the boats. In all the hour before this race, the breeze had been up. It had been over 20 knots. Here we go. I'm looking at the bottom mark rounding here. Coming in. Check out the foil on the leeward side here. The bow punching through the waves. That there makes the boat really hard to turn. The foil, you can see the white water coming off the leeward foil, and big drop there. That's a massive drop in speed. And then Ben Ainsley sets up to go to the other mark, and he's struggling just as much. So clearly teams are struggling out there handling the boats in the sea state. It's not the wind strength, it's the sea state.
Here we go, all the way. 3, 2, 1, here we go, turning.
And that was the on-board moment.
Oh, it's so. Remember how you asked us early in the piece whether we'd like to be out there driving? This is a nice seat, right? We got the best seats in the house here in our little room with all of our monitors, watching these guys go crazy out there.
We do have to pose the question on leg 3 of 6. We're heading towards the halfway point of race 2, round robin number 2, about Luna Rossa in heavier conditions, and the way that boat's set up and how it's falling right now. What do you make of it, Nate?
Well, they look pretty quick to me. They look like they obviously had a great start, but when the boat punches through the water, yes, there's a lot of white water, but it's not getting fully off balance. You can see the bow touching here every now and then. It sounds like they're about to tacky it, rolling into attack. The bigger foils and the bigger waves are going to have more grip, and that bigger flap is going to give the boat a bit more control. Interesting tactics right now going on. I'm surprised that they've opened up the left-hand side here to Ben Ainsley. Maybe they're trying to sell their own race. And look at that. They look like they've got a right-hand shift now. But surely the weather out there, it looks like it's trending down. How far away is this front that we keep talking about, or is it not going to come in this race?
Okay, ready?
Nathan, I'm not sure about the front. I don't think it'll get to us yet, but there is rain coming down the left-hand side of the course. And normally with a rain cloud, you know, there's more wind, and it's shifted round to the side that it's coming down on. So well, Ben has tacked now, but definitely there's something happening which may well happen in the next loop of this race.
With both boats splashing down at that leeward mark, Stephen, at that leeward gate, it looks like the issue on Luna Rossa was a little less than the issue, and they've almost again doubled the lead based on 2 mistakes. Your mistake was just a little less than the other guy's mistake. That's all.
And I wondered too, Francesco Bruni in the press conference yesterday asking about heavier conditions, and I think the line was, we have no speed deficit in heavier conditions, and we're seeing that. Well,
he's been saying that all along, by the way, and maybe we should just listen to him every once in a while. We have these preconceived notions over what we've seen before in past races, but the fact is, as we keep talking about, there is changes to these boats every single day. They've obviously found something here.
Well, Kenny, do you think by them putting those running backstays back on and tensioning that forestay might have just given them that upwind speed that they were missing in the stronger breeze?
Well, there's no question that makes the whole package above the deck, the engine above the deck, more adaptable, more you can change gears. Yeah, I think they've used them a lot of times in the breeze. We noticed in light air the other day, they have the running backstays on. They've been forced to put the running backstays back on the boat by the arbitration committee, but they didn't even use them the other day. They were flapping in the breeze. Today, we can obviously see that the weather running backstay is tight, and the leeward one is loose, flapping in the breeze, so they are using it to control the sail plan. Sounds right to me. Sounds smart to me.
Not really one side, it's just
that one cable, the forward cable, is the one on the weather side, on the windward side that's being used, and that's helping not only create or not create mass bend, but it's also getting the head stay tighter and creating a flatter jib at the same time.
Okay, my rudder. My rudder. My trap, yeah.
Stephen, nice little lead for Luna Rossa. This has been a good leg for them, and that kind of easy staying wide against your opponent, it's obviously worked.
Pressure increasing.
2, 1, clear.
Luna Rossa, Prada Pirelli at the top gate for the second time and rounding the mark. The advantage was 17 seconds at the bottom gate. Has this been a productive leg for the challenger of record? Keep your eye on that clock. We love the clock, don't we, Kenny? Just to see what the advantage is.
Don't get me started again on this clock.
And they have really put the hammer down, Luna Rossa.
Pressure again, 3. Keep pushing, guys. For the pressure. My wheel here. Okay.
INEOS Team UK, who are 3 from 3 at the moment. And the deficit has blown out somewhat, now 44 seconds. My word, that's a performance right now from the Italians.
Yeah, so Nathan, we've talked a lot about you can't be fast in all conditions, and frankly, I think the sailing world was a bit surprised yesterday at the strength of this boat in the lighter air. You gotta, if you're gonna get fast in one condition, very often you take it away from the other. You think that we're seeing a little bit of that?
Well, I think we're seeing a little bit of that, but it's not just the wind strength that they mowed these boats for. It's the sea state. You know, the race that they won against Rossa on the first day was similar wind strengths to this. The only difference I can see right now is the size of these waves and the fact that they didn't win the start. It's becoming a bit of a trend, like you said earlier in the week. The starting in that first cross is critical. But what I'm also seeing is this one boat's just sailing away from the other boat. So maybe the sea state is to the Rossa's advantage. They did a lot of sailing in the Mediterranean, quite big waves in the lead up to coming here. Perhaps the training that they've done there, and it's not so much maybe the equipment, but how you're handling the foils, how you're trimming the sails, how you're dealing with the elements.
Okay, my rudder.
Nathan, I'll just jump in there. We are on the left-hand side of the racetrack, and it's really cold air. It's a lot windier. So expect them to sort of be thinking about that in this next outwind. There's a ton more wind on the left-hand side.
All the time.
Thank you, Shirley. Could be some action on this final lap. Looking forward to that. And I guess they're going to be trying to work out at what time do they need to push left to get into that new pressure.
Biased. Yeah, we got right turn bias. Yeah, right turn bias. 35 metres. That's following 3 here. We have better pressure than him here? Yeah, better pressure coming down onto him all the time. Bad wave coming.
So that could be the new pressure coming down right now. Right now, as we look at this picture, the wind's coming from the right-hand side.
It's going to be a big shift through this race. It's coming in off that big.
Yeah, they can see it. They can see it. They're talking about it. Absolutely. And they're just, they actually have the distance because they're getting into that shift first on INEOS Team UK.
Stand by, stand by. Your pitch.
A lot of chatter, though. This is going to get exciting. A lot of chatter if this breeze strength is going to pick up the way we think it might.
I'm just trying to get one of them left.
Sensing an opportunity.
No, he's committing to it himself. He's still down inside us as much as we can here. So it's going to go 90 degrees left in about a minute. My pitch.
90 degrees left. That's a massive wind shift to the left-hand side of the course.
I'm on the boundary here. Yeah.
But the big thing is, can they actually lay the mark? If it goes 90 degrees left, do they even have to jive? This is going to create some real confusion.
Okay, building a bit of speed here, Ben. They got super light where they are.
It's getting light, and you can see they're going a long way past that artificial ley line that we put up there. Look at that.
Look at all the birds on the front side of the front, you know, getting pushed. Huge wind shift.
Off the foils, this is about to get turned on its head this race once again.
If you're the regatta director, you got to be thinking, is this a fair contest at this stage? It's such a massive wind shift.
Look at that jibe by INEOS Team UK. Very nice jibe. They've taken the lead here. You can see the dark pressure on the top left of our picture here, left-hand corner. That's where the new pressures come from. It's come down with INEOS Team UK, and they've taken the lead.
And even a darker line, Stephen, out behind these guys coming.
Come down, Ben, for the gate. I can't see it. Come down. Okay. Four down. All the way down. Happy to jive turn up. Jive turn up, yeah? Jive turn up.
Pivotal moment in race number 2, round robin 2. As they touched down INEOS Team UK, they were trailing by 44 seconds at the top gate.
Both boats pretty close to out of control because of the wind shift right now. It's because of this big wind shift. It looks to be a lull in front of a big puff that's coming across the race course.
Shirley, what can you see?
Yeah, we are to the left-hand side of the racetrack. I mean, it's a good 25 knots here. It's coming off the land. It's full on here, and it's about to hit them in literally seconds.
When it hits them, Stephen, there's a big choice for our race director. Whether, because they're going to fetch this next gate in one hitch on port tack, they're going to have a straight shot. It doesn't become a windward leeward race course anymore. It becomes essentially a reaching race course when that happens.
8 knots, 7.5.
40 seconds. It's gone from a 44-second deficit to a 40-second advantage for INEOS Team UK. But there are other
Come on, you've got to ease it.
questions in play.
Okay, that's it. Okay.
So Luna, Rossa, Prada, Pirelli look like they're almost about to do an attack here at the bottom mark. INEOS Team UK sailing towards the bottom of our pitch here. You can see the pressure on the water. It's all about who gets it and gets on the foil and gets ripping towards the top mark.
It just looks ominous out there. Like the breeze isn't there yet, but it's about to get ugly.
First team up and foiling now will be tackling before they go out of bounds. Got attack, guys.
Where's INEOS?
Race Yachts. This is the race committee. We will be abandoning this race.
There we go.
And resailing it.
So race abandonment
Shortly.
and a restart, resale.
Brakes might have been abandoned. Hang on. Copy. You just stay on the wheel. Yeah, got it. Slow down, boys, for a sec.
Ian Murray talked about this before the race. They knew this frontal line was going to be close. They're not sure if they heard it correctly, so they're asking the race committee if the race, in fact, has been abandoned.
Race committee, can you please pick your last?
They're still racing because I think they're on. Luna, Rossa obviously have got the communications there.
Yeah, I'm just on the boundary yet. Race abandoned, Port down here.
The key thing for these guys now is to not do anything silly and tip the boats over when this squall of 30 knots comes through.
Race Yachts. This is the race committee. The race has been abandoned. We will reset the course and resail the same race. New start time to be advised.
Okay.
Wow. Referential moment.
1 minute you're sailing downwind at 40 knots and then you literally hit the stop button.
Yeah, well, it's a typical frontal passage. You know, you get that lull, and then the amazing thing was all those birds out in front of that, they're being pushed by the pressure.
You see them here approaching the bottom mark. This is a replay from that bottom mark. INEOS Team UK trying to keep it on the foil and just parked, you know, and Luna Rossa do the same. You could see all the white water coming off those foils. That's because they're sailing in chop. They're in the waves, and the ride height becomes super critical.
So I have to ask the question. Folks are going to be watching this going, well, hang on a minute. They got a lead. Yes, the conditions changed suddenly. Why the race abandoned?
So that is always something that is the most talked about in our sport. For sure, the race director would have talked to these teams long before this regatta starts as to what people consider a fair race and an unfair race. Listen, I am all for letting these races go in that situation because it is what it is. One boat got ahead, the better team ends up winning.
Both experiencing the same conditions.
But it's a windward leeward race course. I think the teams and the race director have decided that if we want to set this race course up upwind, against the wind, and downwind with the wind. With a big, huge shift like this, it turns into a...
the one thing we did know is that front was going to come through and change it, and all the forecasts had, once this front passed through, it was going to hold in the northwest direction and be pretty solid in the high teens today. So if that front is now through, then this breeze should be here to stay, and I think we're going to have pretty windy, but it's going to be shiftier than what we saw before because it's starting to come off that land wall. You can see top marks under the land up there.
Exactly, shifty, and that's when you get passes in what looks like reasonably benign situations. So splits at the top gate become that much more dangerous for the boat ahead. Yeah, this is going to be real action out here again, and I can't wait to see it. You know, I bet you Ben Ainsley had a sit down with his team as to talking about what to do in these windy pre-starts. Maybe we see a little bit of different action out of Ben after not quite doing that first start sequence a little while ago very well.
Heading towards the 2-minute and 10-second mark, which will then allow Luna Rossa the port entry into the pre-start area, and then at 2 minutes INEOS will be allowed to come in and start the joust.
Hello. Yeah, that's it. Good course.
Easy.
Luna Rossa is in.
Both boats cautious coming into that starting box. We call the starting box. You have to cross over that red line, that starting line, and get down below it towards us at the bottom of our screen. That's what we call the starting box. That's where the two boats jockey for position, really trying to screw up your opponent. You know, that's your whole goal in life, is to try to get between you and the opponent and the starting line.
Your wheel, my wheel.
So Ken, besides the obvious of not going out of bounds here for Ben Ainsley, what is his move to win this start?
Where we'll lay lines here.
All you're trying to do at this stage is judge whether Jimmy Spithill and Francisco Bruni are late, early, or on time from the start. He's in a dominant position, but he's got to have a good feel for where they are on their timing sequence heading back to the starting line.
Coming up here.
60 seconds to restart race 2, round robin 2. Ben Ainsley picked up a penalty for boundary penalty the last time out.
Behind again, so he thinks Luna Rossa is early, or he just wants the right-hand side. Luna Rossa puts the brakes on just to try to slow down and get him to catch up and get him in a tight spot.
But he tapped much earlier this time, which means he can't push, but I think he's late. I think Francesco Bruni and Jimmy Spithill turn back at the right time and make it really difficult for Ben Ainsley in this one.
Under 30 seconds to start. Listen to the chat on board. This is INEOS.
Coming up the touch. Yep. Needs a touch.
Charge.
Yeah, we're just on time. Killing maybe one. That'll be right. Okay, got us racing now. Okay. Your wheel. My wheel. Tacking out of this. Tacking out of it. Copy. Okay. Your wheel. Go. Going straight. Going straight. Go straight. Your wheel. Nice. Stand by tack.
Restart race 2, round robin 2. Luna Rossa, INEOS Team UK.
You know, Ainsley kind of got out of that a little bit, Nathan, but I'm surprised he hung on. He got a little greedy there for a second. He had a gap off of about one boat length to the right or to weather of PRADA, and all of a sudden, instead of we're going to tack out of this, guys, he tried to hold and actually fell back a length or two before they finally tacked.
Yeah, first time I've seen a bit of indecision from that team. Normally, last 2 days, they make a call, they stick to it. That time, they change their mind. They've made the first tack, and this is all going to be about which side of the course is going to be favoured as to who's going to be in front when they come back together.
Yeah, I think we sail to it.
On board Luna Rossa.
Stand by. 3, 2, 1. Pressure out of this.
Stephen, this is when we always refer to the first cross, winning and losing the start is almost irrelevant. It's almost like the clock at the marks. It's almost irrelevant. This is the relevance. This is what a start sets up, is the first cross.
How do you read this first cross coming up, Nathan?
Good pressure on here now. Nice.
Let's let them tell us all about it, but it looks like Rossa might just cross.
Just cross.
Starboard take advantage to INEOS.
Take in.
Early call.
Got a stucking.
Take in. Ducking, yeah.
My wheel.
Your wheel.
You can see him. Yeah, he ducked. Clearing transom 2-1 now. Okay, yeah, we're switched now.
So the real question is this boat speed that took the lead? Because they were attacked behind, you know, they've done 1 and 2 attacks versus 1, or was that a shift? And are they in phase? You know, this wind is shifting left and right out there. Shirley, what do you see on the water? Was that speed or was that pressure?
In 10 seconds. I think we keep going though. Pressure okay this way, isn't it, Ben?
Well, I'm not certain. As you say, they did one more manoeuvre and they seem pretty keen to get to that right-hand side and to get in phase. It is shifty. The wind is up and down, and remember that it's coming off the land, which is really making it pretty unstable.
It has to be shifty, right? It has to be. It has completely. The breeze has taken a left turn from this morning, coming off the land. It's really an interesting part of these race courses. The boundaries and the narrowness of the course does not allow you sometimes even to spread out and really take full advantage of a shift. But when the boundary comes, you got to tack. And so it looks like they're a nice breeze up on the top of that dark water up there at the top of the screen, Nathan. It doesn't look so bad for the Italians right now.
Looks like they've taken the lead back here, but still a couple more tacks to go. And this is what's so interesting with these races is 1 minute one's in front. And you think, oh, we'll stay in phase, but no, they're just hitting the corners at the moment. They're just bouncing off these boundaries, and good chance of a split at the top of the course again.
Boat speed sitting around 33 knots, 34 knots of both these AC-75, so there's plenty of pump out there.
Shifty though. This is definitely wind shifts out there right now, Shirley. We can really see from the helicopter big dark streaks, and you don't get 2 passes like we've just seen in such a short period of time. Not just passes, but passes with big gaps without a wind shift, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, shift and velocity and pressure. Also, there's a lot of comms on board, so that gives you an indication there's a ton going on the racetrack.
3, 2, 1. A little lighter out of this, guys.
My rake, my trap. Puff in 2. 1, good puff here.
Starboard tack advantage would be to the boat at the top of the screen, which is INEOS Team UK, but I think that the Italian Stephen look well clear coming into gate number 1.
So looks a little wide out of the mark to me.
Potential early jibe, guys. Stand by, carry away in 2.
Just like the first start of race number 2, Rossa go around the top gate first, and they will be followed through, but a different mark rounding by INEOS Team UK. Last time it was 11 seconds, this time it's 10 seconds.
So the big question is who is in phase with this wind? Who is sailing less distance? Who's got more breeze? Boats are just splitting the course at the moment. They're not really staying in phase. It's a very different strategy this race that both boats are playing.
And when we talk about staying in phase, for those that are trying to get to grips with sailing in phase is?
Well, as you would know, if you were a golfer, as you would know, puffs come in from both sides of the course. The wind strength changes, but also directional changes. So it's really you're trying to play the two and stay in the most amount of breeze and have that angle working to your advantage to shorten the race course.
42 knots or thereabouts from INEOS Team UK, 40 knots by Rossa, PRADA, Pirelli.
Oh, good puff on now.
On board.
A little righty, but still got good pressure. Good pressure up here to windward. Copy.
Numbers.
It still blows me away when they're going 40-ish knots. Let's call that 46 miles an hour or 74K amongst friends.
Stand by.
It's just the calmness, right? You just get used to it.
You just become immune to these kind of speeds. When you do it day in, day out, 40 knots is nothing for these guys. And I could see Jimmy Spittle there driving the boat, looking over his shoulder. Yeah, there's a bit more breeze coming. It's fine. We'll go a little further and jibe again. They're in front, so he's obviously a bit calmer. INEOS jibed on the far side there. I think that this race is starting to get a little bit closer. Shirley, what do you see on the water there?
We are right beside Luna Rossa. It's interesting you say, you know, you kind of get used to it. I was just thinking how stable that boat is, and we haven't said that for a little while. But my goodness, you know,
Hard to see, mate.
really stable. I mean, it hardly moves the distance between the hull and the water. They actually look quick as well. The race course is kind of in two halves, softer at the top, more wind and more bumpy as they get to the second half.
Guys, getting close.
Always going to be a lot more chatter as you're getting close to the gate. You got to decide a whole bunch of different things, and especially which mark on the gate you're going to go around. And that setup is always a huge factor on whether you can stay in phase with the boat behind you, or you're ending up with a big split.
Yep,
2, 1, more down.
Careful, big waves out of these drives.
As the voice of Jimmy Spittle saying, careful, that means don't fly too high because they don't want to jump out of the back of these waves. So it's chopping up as they get further down this track, exactly what Shirley was saying out there.
17 to the left turn. Okay. Nice turn. See what he does. Yeah, copy. Straight, it's probably quite good. Yeah, pressure looking better just out of this stage.
19.
Looks like we're going to have a split at the bottom marks here.
I think we're wide enough. 3, 2, 1, smooth turn.
Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli maintain their lead in race 2, round robin 2. It was 10 seconds at the top gate. It's now 7 seconds at the bottom gate. So slight gain by INEOS.
And a split, even more importantly, a split. Now it's puffy and shifty out there. We saw in that first leg with 2 lead changes. Having a split is a very nervous moment if you're the boat in front.
Little press, just underhead a little.
Just gives the boat behind an opportunity to get by you. If they're following you, it's quite hard to make a pass unless you're quicker. But right now, INEOS heading out to that side, if they get a right-hand shift or if they get any more breeze, have more breeze than Luna Rossa, they'll have the starboard tack advantage on the way back and they could make a pass here.
If we go back to that first leg, because we're on leg 3 of 6, that's where Luna Rossa picked up some wind and made a huge gain on that first leg up on the right-hand side.
Well, INEOS doesn't look like they've gotten further behind right now. They actually have a pretty nice angle out there, keeping it close, waiting for Luna Rossa to make that one little mistake or waiting for that wind shift to help get you by.
Heading towards the halfway mark on race 2.
Close cross. Close cross. So gains for the Brits.
Well across for that shift. Okay, pressure on him.
Little shift right at the end there, Nathan.
Little shift gets Luna Rossa across. The big question is the breeze going to go right or left from here? If the breeze goes to the left as you look up the course, INEOS are going to take an advantage. If the breeze goes to the right, Luna Rossa get the advantage. If it doesn't change, the boat's not going to change. You'll just stay the same distance ahead. But I'm just shocked that Luna Rossa aren't covering. Why they keep giving these opportunities is a bit beyond me. Match racing is all about getting in front of your competitor and staying between them and the mark.
Says the speed demon who in Bermuda was the guy splitting the course all the time. How things have changed.
Well, it's way more fun to split it up and it gives us something to talk about. But if we ever got far enough in front, Percy was always saying to me, tackle their face.
Little build here. Yeah, I've got 10 righty there.
So 10 righty, that's Giles Scott talking about the actual directional shift of the wind. All these wind instruments on board are helping them keep track of where they are on a right-hand shift or a left-hand shift.
Left here.
So what he really needs is a left-hand shift to get back into this one. Otherwise, they're going to make a bit of a loss here.
28 to boundary. I think we just dig into it so we don't sail straight back into the righting. Yeah, copy. Left bottom straight. Okay, left bottom here. Set up then. 13 seconds, my pitch. Yeah. Okay, ready?
Splitting the breeze right now, Nathan. And
down.
if you're an Italian fan, you're hoping they can get across quick. This is a real left-hand shift.
My wheel. Pressure out. Pressure out. 25s.
So now's a great moment if you're Luna Rossa to just tack on their face and sort of lock the race down. If they continue, they just keep giving opportunities.
We may have to duck it.
But it's getting close. I think they're going to not be far enough ahead to tackle them, so I think we're going to see another split here.
That left-hand shift worked, and Luna Rossa barely gets across. I'm really surprised they didn't just
better pressure for us coming here though.
I think you need a bit more of a lead than that to do it.
Pressure out to sea the whole time.
Just keeping the race alive and interesting for us.
Very bow up at times.
Heading towards the top gate and the completion of leg 3 of 6 in this second race of round robin 2 after a restart. After the initial race was abandoned at the bottom gate and leg number 4.
I wrecked my draft.
Who has got the advantage coming into this gate?
Well, I tell you what, if INEOS can do it in one from here, one more take,
good pressure here.
Good chance they're going to make quite again, and that's where the lead change might come.
That was a left-hand shift that you heard Giles Scott over about a minute and a half ago talk about. Let's sail into this all the way to the boundary. They felt their left shift. They wanted to not sail back out of it. This is a real left shift. If INEOS gets any tick back to the right, they're going to be well ahead, I think.
Shirley, what can you see? You're following them up the track.
We're on the left-hand side. There's more pressure out to sea, but yet the odd pop on the left. It's not a straightforward decision anyway.
Port starboard coming here. I feel INEOS have the advantage.
I don't know, mate. He's tacking underneath. Copy. It's going to be a split tack, right-hand turn. Copy. Right turn, split. Your wheel all the way through. Go. Board down now. Board down now. Board going down now. Get on the puck, Charlie. Okay. My pitch, Marco. My pitch.
2-1, clear.
Yeah. Clear. Here we go. Very wide. Okay. Slow the turn here. Going to go line here. Okay. Nice.
Finally, you can't talk about that stopwatch in the lower right-hand corner. Finally. We haven't seen a dead heat in a while, but Stephen, it's hard to make Stephen McIver speechless, and frankly, that just did, ladies and gentlemen. Here's a split again, though.
Even Stevens.
Holy smokes, another split. Listen, that was all about wind shifts. This is so good for the sport. These are 2 even boats, Nathan. These are 2 even boats that a wind shift is actually counting for everything out there in the race course.
So we're going to raise, but our apologies too for some colourful language coming up at Luna Rossa. But this is a race and a half. No gap at the top gate. It was 7 seconds to Luna Rossa at the bottom gate. The top gate, leg 3, nothing. Even.
But look at this, that shift looks like it's gone left, and looks like INEOS are going to make the cross here. But what I was impressed about there was their tack, their bear-away execution. That is not an easy manoeuvre to do. Coming in at full speed, dropping the foil, turning around, coming back where you came from. We saw teams struggling to do that a couple of days ago. Pulling off manoeuvres when it counts is what takes the lead here. Now let's see what Giles Scott does and how he can shut this race down and give them no opportunities.
Back wave coming. Yeah, nice work, boys. Pressure going back in 10. So that's us just on intersection. He will not get to that right turn in 1. Okay, stand by. Got my pitch. Your pitch.
We talked in the pre-start about Giles Scott being freed up to be a real full-time tactician. This race is showing me that that is exactly the case. He's a full-time tactician.
Yeah, he doesn't have to fly the boat or drive the boat. He's eyes out of the boat. And watch him start to play match racing tactics that maybe Jimmy and Bruni can't do because they're always focused on flying the boat.
I agree.
Nice there. Sorry, I should have given you the pressure inside there. It was slightly better. Copy. Okay, no lower than that then. He jives. He's going to do left turn.
Yep. Drive up, boys.
My trap.
Nothing at the top gate to complete leg 3 as we approach the bottom gate. Shirley, what do you make of this race?
Auto lap, 40.
There's so much going on the race course. I mean, it's so strong to have a dedicated tactician painting the picture the entire time. And we're not hearing those comms coming off PRADA. Whatever boat you're sailing, but especially if you're doing 38 knots down here, it's so crucial to have that, to have eyes out the boat.
Going forward. Nice there. High pitch. Nice. Over we go, one of them both. I don't love the 2 board roundups in this shop either, but happy either way. 38.
You know, it's really interesting. All these races, all these race courses have been influenced by land, and that means it's going to inherently be shiftier out on the water. And that lends itself. Now, if this is a flat-out, come off the ocean, non-shifty breeze, then the Giles Scotts of the world are taken out of it a little bit. But not in this case.
And when you're in Auckland, there is plenty of land on every course, and it's all about sailing smart. And, you know, I said earlier, it's a speed race. I think I'm wrong. I think it's a tactician.
Okay, we're in. 2, 1. And up. Yep.
INEOS Team UK rounding the bottom gate to complete 4 legs of 6, and it is an official lead change. They were behind 10 seconds at the first, 7 at the second, nothing at the third, and now they are building a lead on Rossa.
2, 1, running up.
Good.
26 seconds the gap from INEOS to Rossa. Gotta love that clock.
So once again, we have a split. Boats go different marks, but this is a pretty substantial lead.
One more down.
And they're going to tack right on the boundary here. I was shocked. I thought Giles Scott might have tacked earlier to get in phase, so that on the next tack they could tack right on their face. But maybe he's seen pressure on the left that we in the commentary box can't see.
Have a couple.
Guys. 3, 2, 1, power down.
On the breeze, yep.
This is a big cross in this.
We are clear across.
Okay, little speed build there, nice.
Yeah. Breeze is just holding it this left, isn't it? Yeah. Fading a little bit.
The question is that looks like quite a substantial lead.
We're about 30 lengths across.
Do they go past it or do they tack on their face?
Yeah, we'll just tack on him. Yeah, I think we go in 20 or so here. Yeah. Yeah. 30. Set up.
Crossing.
Yeah, anytime here. 2, 1, board down. Turning. Again, board. My hitch. I will. Yeah, getting lighter here, guys. Nice.
Okay.
Commentary from off these boats is priceless. You can just hear, again, for all you sailors back at home, what a conversation between a tactician and a helmsman should sound like.
How's pressure, we think, this way, Ben? Yeah, it's okay. I don't think we want to go too far. Looks like there's pressure in about 20. Copy. We'll use that. He's back on port now.
Okay, let's give a tiny bit here.
Yeah. Up on the bow. A bit of pressure now. A bit of pressure this way, isn't it? Just going right.
Hit breeze here.
It's that balance
Nothing
between
exceptional
sailing your
right,
opponent
Andy.
and sailing the breeze and trying to work out which one you want.
But remember, in all the previous racing in that Christmas series, Ainsley could never look around because he was always fighting the boat. Here he is actually looking around the race course right now, and the boat is kind of sailing itself a little bit. If a boat going 40 knots can ever sail itself, you know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. When the boat is in its groove and you've got the guys flying the boat at the correct height, the trimmers are trimming the sails spot on for you, the rudder gets light, and the boat kind of just tracks and goes where it wants to go. So now Ben can help Giles about where we want to go, and if they've got good speed, they're in good shape. But this angle, he looks like Luna Rossa aren't going away.
Trimming up, boys, when you can. Yeah, they'll come.
He's got a marginal one and in right turn.
No more than that. Little build, guys. How far ahead are we?
Good lead, and now what the
20 lengths.
tacticians are doing is talking about that race course geometry. Which side do they want to escape this top gate towards? Where do they think the pressure is?
I think he's going to have to go. He'll be lucky to get the right turn from there, I think.
Big lefty here for us at the moment.
I think you might get that.
Okay, stand by here.
Crossing. Might hit.
Oh, what do you think?
Big lefty is a left-hand shift out of the race course. Breeze has gone to the left. They like it, but they're not going to give that other boat. They're not going to let that other boat out of their sights. Even though they're in a left-hand shift, Stephen, in a typical world, they would have continued because eventually, hopefully it goes back to the right. They just want to keep control of their competitor right now. This is absolutely a match racing decision and not a wind shift decision.
Good pressure.
Yeah. Can't get on Giles up well.
Similar speeds by both teams as they head towards the top gate for the last time in race 2, round robin 2. INEOS Team UK, after being 10 seconds behind, are now in front, and we'll check on the margin as they go around the top gate for the final time.
Yeah, we've got to hook up into that pressure. Copy. Let's get a bit further.
Yeah, I pitch Charles. Yeah, yours. Lay line in 4.
Yeah, setting up then.
Crossing. Good pressure out of
I
this.
think this is the lefty, but let's be sure of it.
Okay, I'm ready.
Hey, Charles? Yeah, mine.
Okay. 2, 1, board down. A bit slow here.
Good.
Okay, back out of this a bit. Okay, that's course.
My wheel.
Slightly overstood.
Yeah.
Fine.
Stop it in fat here.
Okay, bail.
So when they say overstood, that means they've gone a little bit too far with the ley line, but I think they wanted to make sure they went a little bit further, get that pressure and come into the mark and avoid that tack. But in doing so, they've actually given Luna Rossa a chance to get a few metres back on here. It's all about who's going to have the best pressure out of this top mark.
Use that right to ease in.
Little comeback by the Italians. This race is not over. This is a one-mistake race right now, Stephen.
2, 1.
INEOS Team UK around the top gate for the final time. Their advantage at the last gate was some 26 seconds.
2, 3, 1,
That lead has been cut. 12 seconds now. Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli are not going away.
Boundary in 15.
There's angle. Copy.
Yeah.
Scary moment for the Brits. Complete split on the race course right now. And honestly, a great moment for the Italians. At this stage, you got to take a little chance, although it looks like they're sailing into pressure right in front of them.
My wheel.
Okay, building.
Check out the powerhouses going there. These guys have only got the 6 grinders, remember?
Hold the angle, Giles.
So that they can have more people dedicated to flying and trimming the boat to free up Giles Scott to make these decisions. So bet you they're lucky, they're happy they've only got one race today, those 6 grinders.
You can imagine the grinder saying, yeah, thanks for that, Ben.
Yeah, we don't have to tack on them, don't worry. Can we just stretch it out to the other side of the race course? Nice gain by INEOS. They choose the gate at the top mark correctly, apparently at this stage, and pop out to a little bit bigger lead.
Pressure looks all right here. Average heading.
Copy. I don't think he'll get one and in to finish there. Take a
Sure, coming down here on the water, is there an opportunity here, wind-wise, for Luna Rossa to get back into this one?
Oh. Nathan, I mean, to me, INEOS now looks like they're on the right jive. There's quite a lot of pressure coming from the left-hand side of the track. They look in the best spot. I think also, when we're talking about INEOS, only having 6 grinders allows them to have 2 pilots, Luke Parkinson and Lee McMillan. So, you know, they're stable all the time. Whatever's going on, they've got, you know, 2 guys working on it. And that, in a day like today, it's a massive bonus.
Shirley, that's a good point, particularly in these waves, having dedicated flight controllers. You know, it's
One more down.
it's a big deal, and I'm just impressed with how they turned this around. That race that got abandoned, they were on the back foot, and they've got back into this after trailing on the first lap.
Lost both starts today and still have a nice little lead, but again, it's a one mistake lead. You splash down and get caught off your foils, or you get out of phase here badly, and things could get close very quickly. But they're running out of time on the Italian boat. They are running out of time.
Splashdown by Rossa PRADA Pirelli coming home. Not what they wanted. As you can see, INEOS Team UK setting up for the final jibe for the finish.
Finish line.
Let's go easy on the turn right on these couple of jives.
Yeah, copy.
One more jive to go here, boys.
Yeah.
Further here.
Okay, set up.
Happy. Crossing.
Happy?
Ready.
Happy?
Yes.
2, 1 board down. Turning. Nice and smooth.
Nice.
Okay, good.
Going board.
Good that.
My wheel. My pitch.
Good switch. Okay, building here.
This is course.
Copy.
Running down a touch.
One and in, Stephen. Looks easy now. Take her home.
Okay, bit 2 more turn up.
So after a restart and a reset, it's turned into a peach
Okay,
for
awesome.
INEOS
Hustle, guys.
Team UK. They go 4-0 in the PRADA Cup Challenger Series.
Okay, turning up. Nice work, gents.
Very good work, guys. Come on. Awesome effort, lad.
And in come Rossa. 18 seconds the margin. And now they have to rethink because they've got another race to come. But boy, oh boy, INEOS 4-0.
3 passes in that race. As a fan of sailing, that's all you can ask for. Blowout victories are no fun to talk about in the booth, Nathan, or no fun to really watch, no matter how fast the boats are. This is boat racing. These boats have all gotten really close in speed, and a 3-pass race is reasonably rare and a lot of fun.
Yeah, it didn't look like there was a huge speed difference between those two boats. It came down to who was picking those shifts, executing the manoeuvres, and hats off to Giles Scott, Ben Ainsley, and the whole crew for pegging that one back.
Confirmation of the result of race 2 in round robin 2, and INEOS Team UK with an 18-second win over the challenger of record. INEOS Team UK are unbeaten so far. It is the race that will complete round-robin phase number 2, race 3, American Magic, and the challenger of record, Rossa, PRADA Pirelli. And that's a situation where American Magic fans don't want to see it. I don't know we're well away from the start of this race, but that's not what they want to be. They don't want to be becalmed. I actually want to go down to Shirley Robertson in our chase boat, because Shirley, really late change on the jib for American Magic. What did you make of that?
Well, we just watched that feature on the Weatherman about the meteorologist that the teams have. You know, it's a big decision, but they're getting data from probably the other side of the North Island. They know what's coming, and they're leaving that decision as late as possible. This is a big race for this team, Stephen, where, you know, the last race was a real vindication for a lot of the decision-making on the British boat. I mean, the fact that they decided to design the whole drivetrain to free up their talent. On this boat, they've done the opposite. I mean, I'm really hoping that they come out and and show the talent that they've got, that we hear good communications, good tactical decisions. But this race course is difficult. We've seen that, and it's about joining the dots. It's about sailing well. It's about getting your head out of the boat.
Thank you, Shirley. Well, here we go. Kenny, American Magic, they are a team under pressure. There is no denying that. What do you want to see today from this boat?
I want to see a good start, first of all. Good start. Just strong decision-making by Dean Barker in the start. He has struggled to get off the starting line, albeit it's been, you know, light, weird conditions, but timing hasn't been perfect at times. Let's see a good start and then let the boat do its thing. On the other hand, Nathan, you know, Luna Rossa, we make a lot of, hey, the physical part of they just sailed, but now they know the race course right now, right? They know the race course better than anybody. They just went around it, so they should have a pretty good idea of what they're looking for to try to stay in phase with the wind shifts.
I'd almost think they've got the advantage. They've done 1.5 races, and they know where the shifts are, whereas American Magic, well, they've just been watching. They've just been, you know, hoping that they can work it out. But I think there's a bit of an issue with Luna Rossa. I think they're having some software issues right now. I've been hearing them trying to communicate with the race committee.
You heard Jimmy Spittle a moment ago saying, where is the race start? 2 minutes and 19 seconds and counting. It'll be American Magic with port entry, Luna Rossa with starboard entry, and American Magic allowed to enter at 2 minutes and 10 seconds, and 2 minutes, of course, for Luna Rossa.
Both boats are way out of position right now, aren't they?
Wow. We really wanted Dean Barker to be on time on this when he's anything but on time. Over 20 seconds late, but the amazing thing is, well, yeah, Luna Rossa, we're going to see a dial-up. We could see an easy starboard tack, the boat on the right-hand side on starboard tack.
Coming.
Oh, tripping over themselves.
Ready, flag. Flag.
Dial down.
Coming back up, coming up.
Protest by the Italians. We're going to see the Americans in trouble here right now, is my guess.
But Luna Rossa off the foil.
Big trouble, Reese.
Take off. Forget about him. We just take off.
again, please. Yeah, take it. Crossing.
Big easy.
Another bad pre-start entry by American Magic. 3 in a row now.
Both boats are off the foils.
Yep.
Stand by. Bearing away. Boards down.
Who can get up on the foils first? And there's plenty of breeze out there, and Luna Rossa already is.
Tack on ley line, probably Keko.
Something's going on that American boat to have them so out of sync coming in, and no power. So they must have deemed that Luna Rossa was moving and didn't give the other guys the opportunity to stay clear, but I'm shocked at that.
Well, now that both boats are up on foil, even still, you know, American Magic are up high. They're going to jibe into position. PRADA are going to be tacking into position. It's all about time on distance for both boats here.
Time on distance, if the Italians do this right, they should have the advantage.
Checking.
20 seconds to go to race start of race 3 and round robin 2. Messy all over the place at the beginning of this pre-start, but now it is race start. 10 seconds and counting.
Okay, bearing away a little. Full speed, go. Go, go.
Clear start.
You heard Jimmy Spittle say it. Full speed, go, go, go. And we are underway. The final race in round robin phase 2. This is race number 3. We're on board American Magic, trailing Luna Rossa out of the gate.
Yeah, well, once again, American Magic, just bad setup for these entries. That's the 3rd time in a row that they've fallen off the foils in the pre-start.
The lull in the middle.
And you can't be happy with that, can you?
There's also one on the bow in about 40.
A little drag race, American Magic hanging in there in a really vulnerable spot, but eventually PRADA has the ability to tack. They're going to go into this zone, and the Americans have to give them the opportunity, but
looks like he tacked early. Tacked early ahead of the boundary with confidence that they were going to make that cross.
These races are showing to be more interesting by the moment. They're fooling us both here, Nathan.
Fooling each other as well while they're at it.
Why would the PRADA boat have tacked early there? I don't quite understand.
Okay, I got a theory. Maybe they're still struggling with software. That's all I can say right now. I did hear them chatting before the start that maybe they're not confident in their boundary software and they're trying to do it off the lights as opposed to software on the boat. That's my only thing I can think of. Shirley, you're on the water. How does it look from your perspective at the moment?
Yeah, I think you must be right, Nathan, because we're on the left-hand side of the course. It's a massive, big, black crowd. There's lots of wind. The wind has gone left also. It's almost like a sign on the water, you know, go left. So I'm sure they must have some sort of issue.
So, Shirley, they've given up this left-hand side of the track and effectively given the strong side to their competitor. It looks like American Magic have taken the lead. You can see in this picture overhead, dark water, both boats are in it, but Luna Rossa are about to sail out of it. You know, it's lighter at the top of our screen. And breeze is up, you know, we're reading, what, 16, 18 knots on the boats here right now, so it's definitely windier than the race we had before.
Nathan, this is more wind than we've seen for a long time, and it's really dark over the land. I think maybe even more wind to come from that left-hand side.
Tight cross coming here.
Port out and turning.
That's a beautiful lee bow, isn't it?
Hopefully we're going to be able to go to a 3D shot at some stage here and take a look at it. Again, I think they tacked early on the boundary. But man, oh man, American Magic just put themselves in a dominant position. Don't get too slow if you're Dean Barker, but you like the control of the situation right now, that's for sure.
Steady by, Goody. Steady by. Crossing.
Oh, Luff coming in, big Luff. Oh, close. That's quite aggressive by Jimmy Spittle there, and I think it backfired on him.
I'll stay here, Goody. Turning down at 5, 4, 3, 2.
Protest by the Italians for a luff. This ought to be interesting.
Top gate for the first time, and it's American Magic around the mark first, followed closely by Luna Rossa, 6 seconds behind.
Straight into a jibe out of that top mark for Luna Rossa and PRADA Pirelli, so already trying to get over to that favoured side that Shirley spotted. Shirley, is that pressure still over there?
Come up, fish.
Yeah, an increase in pressure and also long on this jibe. So absolutely, tactically, the right thing to do was early jibe.
Wrong. Settle the boat down, boys.
Limit, come up.
No penalty on the luff. They took a long time to talk about that one, though, didn't they, Nathan?
So explain the penalty on the no penalty on the luff.
Well, Jimmy Spithill, like Nathan called, did a very aggressive maneuver. They were the leeward boat there, the boat downwind from American Magic. Maybe we can see it on a replay in a second here, but they did a quick aggressive maneuver. This is after that luff, but they did a quick aggressive maneuver and pushed their button. Said to the jury, hey, we think they fouled us. I don't think they did. I think they were plenty clear, but may as well go for it. It was aggressive, though.
Oh, if you don't want aggressive, it's going to come from Jimmy Spittle. No denying that.
So the early jibe doesn't look like it paid off. It looks like, if anything, they've lost a little bit of distance. And let's just go back and have a look at the replay once again of this luff that happened on the first beat. So Jimmy Spittle to leeward here.
To the right.
He has the right of way, and he's going to come up quite aggressively here in a second. Here he goes. He starts coming up, trying to luff Dean Barker. Boats don't get close enough. I'm thinking that's why the green flag came eventually, but that little luffy, you see him coming up. Listen on board.
Traveler up.
Okay, stand by.
I don't know. I think he was clutching at straws there, to be honest.
That's called a Hollywood. That means you're kind of acting into that one, and you're hoping to fool somebody. We didn't get fooled. That's for sure. That the jury, Richard Slater and his team clearly made the right decision there.
Look at that rain on the onboard shot. There's plenty of rain coming across, of course. Shirley, we're going to get wet out there soon?
We're getting wet. I can confirm we're getting wet. And more, the wind's gone more to the left, so it's been really hard for American Magic to get, to get back over. Just watching them jibe now. They made a good gain. I mean, they have been fast on this downwind leg.
Probably JK. Going to be
I like
JK
how
up
you
there.
said we getting wet.
We're a team.
2, 1. Here we go.
Bottom gate for the first time, and American Magic in conditions that are challenging everyone. Getting around it. It was 6 seconds at the top gate.
Golden speed here for the tack, 20 to boundary.
And 13 seconds at the bottom, so they've made a wee gain.
One board down. And turning.
Both boats rolling straight into attack out of the bottom arc. Dean Barker here, along with tactician Terry Hutchinson, will be not letting them get a sniff into this race. But having said that, bit of leverage out to the right-hand side for Luna Rossa. Any right-hand shift now is a gain for Luna Rossa PRADA Pirelli, and they could be back in this one in a jiffy.
Surely it's from our vantage point, though, all kidding aside, it looks squally out there. Little rain squalls, big wind shifts. Is there anything that's predictable at this stage?
Well, it's rain. The left-hand side of the course, it's raining and it's dark and it's windy and it's sunny on the right-hand side. Got lots of weather here in New Zealand. I can confirm that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you would think you would protect the left-hand side where the rain is, but we'll see how it rolls.
Tactician Terry Hutchinson also in his grinding duties. There's been plenty of that has been made of this.
If he tacks here, Terry, do we lead him back to the left?
There's Dean Barker asking him his decision.
They're strong, getting stronger left.
Where do they want to go on the race course?
Big left shift at the moment. Yeah.
Much better both speed mode.
He's struggling with his comms, I think. Dean keeps asking him questions, and I didn't see Terry's lips moving there, so it's like he doesn't hear him.
Either he doesn't hear him or he's thinking hard about it. Took his sunnies off, he's trying to get a better look.
Yeah, I think this is comms are out, and we're not hearing them probably.
Now, so I'm happy where we are.
Yeah, he's boundary light on, standing by, Goody.
Luna Rossa very close to that boundary on that far side.
Boundary penalty Italy, boundary penalty Italy.
There you go, out of bounds. That's going to be expensive. That's not what you need when you're behind.
It's going to be fascinating to find out after this race is over whether their comms
Italy, you have about 1 boat length to go.
Are working. We've seen a couple shaky situations where including the very first tack of the race, where Luna Rossa tacked in kind of a weird spot, and it almost kind of looks like you called, Nathan, that they don't know exactly where the boundary is on that onboard computer.
Well, it definitely looked like on that first tack that they tacked too early, and they really sort of handed the advantage of that left-hand side of the course to American Magic. You see in the background here, American Magic steaming out to the left-hand side of the track, over to that pressure and to the good, strong pressure on the left-hand side of the course.
You think about attacking around as
Ripping
well.
upwind at the moment.
Okay, standing by here, we're getting close to boundary. Yeah, copy. 2, 1, board down. Turning. Really nice shift. Very easy enough this hole.
Heading towards the halfway point in this third race, the final race in round robin 2 between American Magic, desperate for their first win of the PRADA Cup against Luna Rossa, who have 1 in the bag. We're hoping today to pick up another 2, but beaten by INEOS in the earlier race.
Copy that.
But I've got to say one thing. These crews are working hard.
Super hard. And that left side of the race course, like Shirley called, clearly dominant. Follow the rain squall when in doubt, and that's apparently what these guys have done and developed a nice little lead.
Pace it up.
Pacing it up, copy.
Coming in, please. Keep coming down. Rounding in 3, 2, 1.
American Magic at the top gate for the second time. They led by 13 seconds at the bottom. Have Luna Rossa made any gains on the upwind leg?
Touched 48 knots going around that corner. Nearly 60 miles an hour.
I think Chicago, he looks like he's going light over there.
Yes.
No gains. The deficit increases for Luna Rossa to 27 seconds, losing 14 seconds on the upwind leg.
That was all that left-hand side. Dean Barker, Terry Hutchinson just protecting that side. They went around the bottom arc, went further, got onto the boundary, and every time Jimmy and Bruni tried to get back out to the left, they just face them, just send them back to the wrong side. And if you keep sailing like that, you're not going to let them have a sniff.
At some stage, we're going to have to ask Jimmy Spithill why they call that maneuver when they go around the mark, put both boards down and roll into a jibe. Why is it called a Chicago?
We definitely need to find out the reason behind that.
Shirley on the water. American Magic looks strong today.
They do, Stephen, and I'm curious to see the analysis, the stats when the race is over, because to me it looks like they've got wheels, they've got a little bit of extra, both upwind and downwind, and when they get free from the other boat, they do seem to be spending.
Currently rocking at around 42, 43 knots. They, as Nathan say, are steaming on this race course. I like to call it honking down the course. They're honking.
You could use lots of different words for going fast, couldn't you? But let's put it this way. Those small foils that were their Achilles heel yesterday are coming into their own today. And the breeze is 15, 16 knots, gusting a little bit more than that. And this is when that team knows they're going to be fast. Everyone knows that they're a quick team here. And they're making the most of it, aren't they?
Saw a big dark cloud over Dean Barker's right shoulder. They're still going to be looking at that left side of the race course.
Very, very light beyond Ian. Yeah, I don't think we go too far here. No, definitely not. Just going to have to watch him out of the tack. Probably turning up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go.
American Magic around the bottom gate. It was 27 seconds at the top gate. What will the gap to Luna Rossa be here?
Okay, standing by. Crossing. Copy.
Well, I suspect it's going to grow because American Magic did that downwind in one jibe. They went boundary, jibe, laid in, and Luna Rossa are going to have to do it in 3 jibes. So each maneuver is going to cost you time around the racetrack. And
that big left-hand shift, it's almost a fetch at this stage. It's not quite a fetch, but that big left-hand shift has certainly made this a one-sided racetrack.
Very much a follow-the-leader course, isn't it?
Two-board round up this one.
Yes, we don't have mark.
3, 2, 1. Okay, turning up.
Luna Rossa 42 seconds behind at the 4th gate. You heard Jimmy Spithill go, oh, and I think for a moment there, you saw how close they were to that markable went, oh, hang on a minute.
They were close. The outside wing of that fin, that starboard side fin was close. These guys have, a bunch of times, they've seemed almost skittish in this race. We were talking about how smooth they were in the first race in the breeze. It's flatter water. They should be even smoother, you would think, but every once in a while, they look like they're kind of tripping, like almost skittish on the water. I wonder if they do have an internal problem.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's not the same boat that we saw in the first race that got abandoned. It's definitely not the same boat that we saw in the race earlier today. And man, a bit of head scratching going in that program right now, I could imagine. Shirley, you're on the water. You're following them around closely. Can you verify that Luna Rossa are struggling more than what they were in the previous race?
Yeah, I mean, the boat just feels really, it looks really unsettled, and we haven't seen that earlier in the day. We're right beside American Magic at the moment. protecting that left-hand side. It's raining on the beaches of the North Shore, and so they're about to come into rain and more wind, and doing exactly the right thing, you know, protecting the left-hand side of this last upwind leg.
2, 1 more down.
Shirley, I hate to ask the obvious question. Is there any chance that this weather is going to prevent this race from finishing? Is there any erratic weather that's going to make a chance for Luna Rossa to get back into it?
Because I'm an expert meteorologist.
I'm just putting you on the spot. You're our eyes on the water. Any chance? You know, we're clinging at straws here to get Luna Rossa back into this race.
We're hard left in the camera boat now, and it's really quite strong, and it is further left. But I don't think it's anything like we saw earlier in the day. But expect a big change particularly on the downwind leg.
So Shirley was calling rain on the North Shore, but you look at the fans watching this on the big screens in the America's Cup Village. Well, actually, in come the raincoats, but they're loving it. American Magic looking hopefully for their first win. There are some Magic fans in the house. Yeah, we love it too. Don't you worry about that. Stay dry, though. Heading towards the top gate for the last time. 35 knots, American Magic. This will be a huge weight off the shoulders if they continue on and win this race.
Well, tactically, they're sailing well today as well. You know, a lot is being made of Terry's position on the boat and his position, and not only as a tactician, but as a grinder. But unfortunately, we can't hear him because his comms are down. But we've heard a lot from Paul Goodison, a lot from Andrew Campbell.
Sorry, just to interrupt, the elevated voices here. Hard bearaway coming up.
1 more down.
American Magic flying into that gate for the final time. And they were flying.
Squall here.
Whoa, hang on. Trouble in the middle. American Magic.
And they are over. You can hear the elevated voices going into that one.
No rush.
Wow.
Stand by tack. Stand by tack.
Do a tack.
Try and get some comms to see everyone's okay on board. Luna Rossa taking it, taking it easy here at the moment as well. Big puff must have come across the course.
Chill and then bear away.
Jimmy, the race is abandoned when one boat capsizes. The point
Let's
is
keep sailing, though. Let's keep
we keep
sailing.
sailing. Yes.
Stand by, bear away.
Yeah, easy mission. Easy bear away.
Okay,
You
speed.
can always drop the board after, so be generous on the
bear away.
hits.
3, 2, 1, bearing away. Easing jib.
Can we get anything else on this day?
Stay up.
No problem, no rush.
Chase boats now getting to the attention of the American Magic crew.
Okay, try and lock her in.
Up.
Okay, that's angle. Any idea what the boundary is?
I can't get it.
Should be fine, right? It just
Very
needs to be.
traveler, you mentioned easy traveler, Jimmy.
Yeah, copy.
Easy traveler.
Well, that was a big capsize, wasn't it, boys?
You could see the foam off the water, so it's like, uh-oh, big squall. They felt it coming. That's why they tacked around that mark to try to tack around.
That was nice. Nice, because it's all good. You can stay there.
So Luna Rossa PRADA Pirelli will continue
Is it
on.
finishes up or down from here?
Straight.
We counted all 11 people in the when we had a vision of the boat, so it looked like all people were accounted for, all 11 crew members.
So confirmation, all crew safe on American Magic. But my word, what the heck went on?
Okay, so what went on there is they were approaching the top mark and they got a big left shift, increase in pressure. And you could hear the elevated voices coming into that manoeuvre. They decided to attack into a bearaway. That was the manoeuvre that Ben Ainslie was doing in the previous race. That's possible and it's fine to do in 16 knots of breeze, but if that pressure was above 20 knots, that's a tough manoeuvre, and you know, it's end result is it capsizes. It's disaster for the team.
Just when you think they are going to get their first win in this PRADA Cup, quite simply disaster for American Magic, and it literally hands the win to Luna Rossa PRADA Pirelli.
Luna Rossa just cruising here at the moment, making sure they don't tip it over as well.
On the right, yeah? But we've got to go through that gate anyway.
This is the umpires. USA has retired. USA has retired. The race is awarded to Italy.
Race is over.
So confirmation, Luna Rossa, PRADA Pirelli will get their second win of this PRADA Cup Challenger Series.
The finish line is this one, straight
Just when you thought you've seen it all, Stephen and Nathan, this we knew this was going to be crazy, but we had no idea what the definition of crazy really was, did we?
That quite simply is a heart-stopping moment. You are in supposed control of the race. You need this win for your team and your organisation. And then that happens. A capsize.
Wow, it's not good. Not good at all. And I'm sure we'll be having a replay here in a second to have a look at what actually happened.
So, American Magic, capsize and retire. And this is how it unfolded.
Okay, so I started seeing the bottom of the jib flapping there, and all of a sudden you see a little foam on the water, a little spray coming off the water. It's like, oh boy, this looks really windy right now all of a sudden. And see that spray blowing away really hard, really fast? But Nathan's look at everything's luffing, everything's floating. Oh, the lured running backstay still on. The lured running backstay stays on, and it's hooked up against the mainsail, and they can't let that mainsail out. The lured runner is still tight. The lured runner never got released.
No rush, no rush. It's tough time.
You see the main looks like it's pinned on, so it's hard up against that lured runner. The lured runner is the thing that keeps the rig in check, and the thing we keep talking about, Luna Rossa want to get rid of them.
It's that dark water coming across right there. They're in pressure. Elevated noise on board. You could hear it in Dean's voice.
Turning down in 3.
You can hear it.
1, turning down now.
The lured runner looks like it didn't release, and oh my God, the boat turned sideways.
So essentially an inability to release pressure on the mainsail and say, pop, you're over.
Sure is what it looked like to me. Nathan and I both picked it up. The mainsail was kind of big curvature right around that shroud that goes towards the top of the mast.
But the big question I have is there